Okay, round two, and I have figured out this green wire. So, turns out the green wire is a little more important than I originally thought, and it's likely going to necessitate I put a turn signal module in, which is how these controls were originally designed to work. But, so quick explanation, the green wire actually gets powered through the turn signal flasher, which is here. This is the hazard flasher, it's the turn signal flasher. So it gets power on ignition, and then the green wire goes back through both harnesses to both controls. And the green wire goes specifically to each turn signal button. So you look inside, you can see the green wire goes up and the purple wire comes back down. And there's your switch. So original style, each turn signal button got fed their own power through the flasher, and then it went to the hazard switch and then to the lights. The newer style that uses a module didn't need to do that. So it simply has one power, the orange wire, feeding the entire control. So there's the problem. Fortunately, Custom Dynamics makes a auto-canceling module, and it's relatively inexpensive, and they provide all the wiring schematics for it. So I should be able to pick that up, wire that in. And the other cool part I was thinking was, since I no longer have the factory ignition module up in here, I can actually mount it there, run the wires right up to essentially the hazard switch, and almost everything should be there. So while this was certainly something unplanned, unexpected, it's gonna work just fine. So that's a good thing. This clutch lever off eBay, try to keep some of that patina, is the final piece to getting this grip and control in place. You know, I figure out the actual clutch cable, whether I need to replace that or I can make it work. That's a different story. But that's the final piece here. All right. Well, one question resolved. More questions to come, I'm sure. Sometimes I say, God bless Harley Davidson for not changing anything, it seems like, almost ever. So they've changed, it looks like nothing on their clutch lever design from, I don't know when that one was original, let's say prior to 1984. And this is a 96 and up clutch lever. So the clutch cable, I was wondering, would it fit, wouldn't it fit? Beautiful, beautiful fit. And a good time to put a new mirror on. And here we have it, the first beautiful, shiny, chrome new mirror that is, it's not going on this bike, it's actually going on that bike. And one of the crusty ones from the Fat Boy is gonna come on this bike. I only have one so far. The right side is back ordered from Harley, but we'll make do. We'll get this on. Yeah, this one suits this bike better, I think. Already has a little rust, a little crust. Offsets the new controls. It's one of the reasons why I wanted to find the clutch lever used on eBay, so that it had a little bit of wear. You know, new stuff is already going to jump out on this bike, so I'm going to try to keep that to as much of a minimum as I could. But yeah, there we go. I like it. So before I get to actually wiring the throttle side controls, which has been my goal for today, I want to switch out the master cylinder for the correct style for a few reasons. One, I want to get the placement just right so I know the wiring is just right before I cut. And two, this master cylinder will actuate the brake light switch that's in here for testing the brake light wiring, and the old one won't. Very important if you're going to do something like this. The master cylinder for the twin disc bikes is marked 11/16. That's the diameter of the piston in here. The single disc bikes, like my Fat Boy, have a 9/16. So make sure you get the right master cylinder for your application. Another thing very important before putting this master on with the controls, to avoid breaking this little switch, just take something, anything, to space out the lever just a little bit. Space that lever out so that tab goes in and clears the switch, because otherwise you're going to be snapping the switch and have a generally bad day. So, little trick to hopefully save someone some headaches, and that applies to any of the I guess 96 and up controls. I know the Fat Boy is the same way. I don't know what year that stopped. I don't know if it went, only to 07, or did it continue on to 17. But until you get this control bolted up, I would keep that lever space just a touch so you don't break that switch. All right, once you get your lever height and the spacing to allow this control a little bit of room on the grip, you just snug this up, and I feel much more confident now to run these wires, test them, connect this brake line, and see how that all works out. A word of advice: remove this brake line while the master cylinder is still attached to the bike. This way you won't struggle the way I just did. Now, I am fortunate. I have an impact gun, and that was the easiest way to do it. But if I would have just broken it loose while it was attached to the bike, this wouldn't have been a problem at all. Not a direct fit, but some minor tweaks for now. This is obviously getting replaced, but to get it together, know that everything works, this'll do. We'll get this second crusty but usable mirror on, and she'll have mirrors. She'll have mirrors I can actually see out of, because I know that sucked riding like that, and also it seemed to irritate a lot of people. I guess I tend to irritate some people. I don't know. I mean, it was fine for riding around in the city the way I was, but mirrors are a good thing to have. I definitely agree with that. All right, mirrors. Look at that. Yeah. All right. That'll do. That'll do. I think we'll cut here. Give us about the same slack as the other side. More or less. We should have plenty of room to tuck things away, especially if I'm getting rid of the flashers here and the flasher switch and a few other things. I'll get the wiring. All right, so I think I'm getting the hang of these connectors. I'm going to wire this up same as the instructions say. So pin 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Pin 1 seems to be pretty consistent, is the orange power wire. So we'll get that up in place. Pin 2 is red with yellow. So we'll push that one up in place. All right. Pin 3, gray. That's pretty straightforward. So we'll get the gray wire in and in place. Now pin 4, white with black. It's this one, right? White with black, white with brown. All right. White with black will go in place, white with brown, pin 5. In place, and finally, black with red. And once that's all in, we'll put the lock, which should just go straight in. All right, that half is done. Now I've got to whack this plug off and wire this side. Also figure out what wire goes to what. So I've got the factory wires figured out. I'm ready to pin them. It is orange for main power, red for brake light switch to the brake lights. Gray is the ignition supply from the ignition switch. White is the power from the off run switch to the ignition module. Black is the starter button, and brown is the right turn signal, which should light up but not flash because I've removed the flashers and need to install the module. So I'm gonna get to pinning it and double checking that. So I've got everything wired, and I want to just throw the instrument cluster on before actually testing to make sure that side works. But before I do, I have a stripped out bolt that holds the instrument cluster in place. So I grabbed a helicoil kit. It's a 1/4 inch. The bolts are good, so I'm gonna drill it out and throw some helicoils in, and we should be good to go. It's nice to work on soft aluminum. I'm gonna do this one too, just because, why not? I'm here, and I know I will not have any trouble with those threads going forward. Yeah, these are the long, boring parts, I guess, to getting any vehicle, motorcycle or car that's been sitting, to getting it ready for some extended road use, and give yourself a fighting chance of not breaking down. I am so grateful for the advent of helicoil kits, though. They just they make repairs so easy. You know, the old metal was soft. Aluminum is soft to start with, but then older metals, the metallurgy wasn't as good, and on top of that, corrosion, years of sitting, how many times something's been on and off. You know, it's nice to be able to, in this case, put a steel thread into an older, softer piece of aluminum, and it's super easy and cheap, for that matter. You know, complete kit, they're available now everywhere, and I used to buy them one at a time, whatever I needed, because I didn't use them that often. But I'm like, you know, get the kit, be prepared. Luck favors the prepared. And any other holes that I have issues with, like I don't think this one in particular is all that great. You can see it sticking out. I've had issues with the starter stuff. I've had issues, you know, what if I have an issue with the bolts in the primary when I'm trying to put this together or take it apart or whatever. It's nice to have, you know, everyone you need at your fingertips. So I'll get the new threads inserted and get this back together. These kits today are pretty complete too. Gives you everything you need, a little tool to install it. Do just a dab of Loctite, a little red Loctite on there, and then we'll just install the new threads. We'll get them in pretty much flush, like that, nice and easy. And then once the threads are in, little tool just to knock the tab off, you're done. Fresh steel threads. Should have no problem with these for years to come. Our final test of all the switch gear. So I did rewire the fog light. That should work. All right. And that should only work on lights. Shuts off on accessories. Beautiful. Now, I know it's not going to flash, but let's see if at least it turns on. And it turns on. Great. It's on. So is the rear. While we're standing here, see if the brake light comes on. Hey, right. Brake lights. So that's wired. I guess the big one. Does the start-stop switch work? In the off position, no start. In the run position, okay. I like it. We're there. I think it's time to move on to the primary. There's still other stuff to do, I know. Bleed the brakes, throttle cables. Oh, and for some reason, the high beam light doesn't come on. But now that I know what the schematics are, it's just a matter of making sure the connector on the instrument cluster is tied into the high beam switch so that that light lights up when the high beam's on. So, all right. I think this is a pretty successful, that's a weird feeling to not have brakes because it's not bled. But pretty successful control installation, way more involved than I expected. And this started as kind of a little side quest of how come the left side turn signal didn't work, and it blew up into now fully understanding the wiring and the ridiculousness on how Harley did wiring 40 years ago. Surprisingly though, everything has been in pretty decent shape. So what did we learn? These controls fit. The clutch lever works. The wiring of them is pretty straightforward. You will need a turn signal module to make the turn signals work. Or you can just sit there and do this, which is what I'll do for now. Hey, look, I can even do hazards. Well, that's it for now. On to more exciting stuff, which is the primary and finding that primary leak and making her roadworthy again. And for anyone asking, the CVO Road Glide ST is not mine. It belongs to a very, very good friend of mine, Chris. He also has a channel, Touring on Two Wheels 718. And I am simply lucky enough to be the custodian of it from time to time, do some work, do some maintenance, take it for a ride. He tells me to, whether he means it or not, I don't know. But when you have this, you're gonna ride it. This isn't my style, this isn't my taste. I like old American bikes and for some strange reason, new Italian bikes. But I can't say that it's not beautiful. So that's it. I think this was quite an accomplished day. I'm super satisfied. I did learn the high beam is wired correctly. It just is very, very, very dim. I don't know why. I don't know if it's because the bike's not running and because I've been playing with the lights or who knows. Also, still have throttle cables to do. So I'll get that done. The reason why I did this now is because I wanted to be able to do this while I had the battery connected. And more than one person in the comments pointed out, as I was playing with the primary, disconnect the battery or you might lose a few fingers. And I was like, wow, idiot. They're 100% right. So I changed course just a touch to get these controls done, which required a battery to be connected. Now I can move forward, disconnect the battery, which allows me to do the primary. I can do the throttle cables. I can change the enricher, which I want to do. I can do a whole bunch of other stuff with the battery disconnected and no worries. Also really cool. I don't have it yet, but I found this decal. You can see the image of it. I think it's the coolest thing ever. I'm going to leave this, patina from when the gas spilled. Just clean the mounting area for the decal and mount the decal. So I guess that's it for now. I'm going to say, as I always do, I can't tell you how much I appreciate all of the comments and help. Hopefully you can help me with the things I'm going with forward. and we'll catch you next time.